It has been the symbol of new technology and innovation for more than 50 years. A huge cluster of exceptional companies known throughout the world and all thriving south of San Francisco Bay. Welcome to Silicon Valley. It all began on the campus of Stanford University. In the 1930s, a professor of the Department of Electrical Engineering convinced two of his students, Hewlett and Packard, to set up their company in the region. It would be the first of many. Apple, Google, Cisco, Intel and Meta, all sprouting in Silicon Valley. Nearly 30 years ago, a French television crew filmed a long report in a place that at the time was little known here in France, and where it seemed everything was possible.
C'est quoi les ingrédients de la Silicon Valley?
Les ingrédients sont d'abord un climat très agréable. Ensuite, la disponibilité de personnel technique très qualifié, très capable. Et aussi la disponibilité de capitaux qui permettent le fonctionnement d'une industrie de pointe.
Avec ces ingrédients, la Silicon Valley ne se contente plus de l'électronique et des ordinateurs. Tout ce qui est d'avant-garde, tout ce qui peut faire gagner de l'argent intéresse les habitants de la vallée.
Well, today, though, the El Dorado of tech is in crisis. For more than a year, workers have been laid off en masse. 400,000 employees in the sector have lost their jobs in the USA since 2022 alone. And last spring, the Silicon Valley Bank, which financed many startups, collapsed. So what is going on in the valley? And why is the dream there being shattered? Well, Valérie Defer, Pierrick Laurent and Wassim Cornet revisit Silicon Valley for France 24.
Welcome to Silicon Valley. Futuristic architecture and high-tech buildings as far as the eye can see. This area surrounding the San Francisco Bay is home to 40,000 startups, a unique ecosystem that attracts great minds and tourists too.
Hello, welcome to Computer History Museum. Come on in.
That is a single board computer designed by two guys named Steve in a garage in Cupertino, the Apple I. They didn't sell very many of these. They sold in the hundreds of these, but that was where Apple got its start.
This museum recounts 100 years of tech innovation and history and begins by explaining how Silicon Valley got its name.
Does anyone know what these are?
Transistors.
Transistors. It's basically just an electronic switch. But the key to this is obviously it's very tiny, much more reliable.
It's the invention of transistors made primarily out of silicon that paved the way for the invention of computers.
I remember working on some of these computers when I was a kid in elementary school, learning to type on these giant computers that show black and white or green. For me here, it's like the birthplace of technology.
Tim Beharin was witness to that revolution. He was born here 73 years ago.
When I grew up, Silicon Valley itself was all orchards. A great place for growing peaches, strawberries. So this is ground zero for the birth of Silicon Valley. This is what's known as the HP Garage.
This is where two Stanford graduates, Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard, launched Silicon Valley's first startup in 1939.
I think the garage culture has more to do with, again, the individuals. When they start, they literally put everything into it. And even though it may have started in a classroom or in an engineering lab, they wanted to work on it on a consistent basis. And you'll see this across the board.
That was the beginning of a high-tech transformation which has gone on for more than half a century, until a storm began to brew.
Now to the newest flood of layoffs in the tech world. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, sent emails to 11,000 employees yesterday telling them they no longer have their jobs.
Google parent company Alphabet is the latest tech giant to slash its workforce, announcing
Thousands
cuts
of
today
Twitter
of
employees
6%.
are being laid
In an email
off
to
as
employees,
Elon
is
announcing plans to lay off more than
18,000
workers.
In 2022, tech giants began to lay off thousands of people. Companies were crippled by rampant inflation and overhiring during the pandemic. More than 400,000 people lost their jobs in just 2 years. Ashka is one of them. She left her family and her home country in 2020 on a quest for her American dream.
I am 27 years old and I came from India. I came from the western part of India with a kind of a dream to settle in over here. This is kind of the land of startups, dreams, wherein you can kind of build anything and create anything possible.
She was hired as a development engineer for Amazon, but it all came to an end one morning in January 2023.
It was a generic email that today is the unfortunate day where we will be cutting 18,000 jobs and stuff. And I'm like, okay, let me open my laptop and see the generic mail. But I had two mails, like the generic and the specific, that my role is also eliminated in those layoffs. So yeah, it was heartbreaking. Of course, there was a question like, why me? Because I worked very hard and I was kind of among the top performers.
So you never know exactly?
The reason, yeah, no.
But for Ashka and other foreign employees, there was another consequence to being laid off.
So I am on H-1B visa. From the day your paycheck ends, the 60-day clock starts. And within those 60 days, you need to find a job or get deported out of the country.
Ashka sent out 200 resumes before she landed a job at a pharmacy. But her dream hasn't changed to build a career in Silicon Valley. Many have done just that. Jerry Van Nuffelen moved here from Belgium 15 years ago. Today, he's the head of a startup that creates new generation robots for factories and warehouses.
It's designed to work closely with people in a safe and seamless way, meaning it can move really fast, like what you see here, it's moving fast. And then as I move closer to it, it will adjust its speed to slower speed. It can work really close to me, and it will stop if it hits me.
But in March 2023, a seismic event shook the valley to its core.
The biggest bank collapse since the 2008 financial crisis, and it shut down today.
The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank triggered panic in the Bay Area, with thousands of customers trying to get their hands on their assets.
The Silicon Valley Bank failure was a big thing for us because we have a large amount of our capital at Silicon Valley Bank. It was a massive scare. I mean, when that happened, I thought we were done. I called my board and I said, let's see how it goes, but this could be the end.
After days of talks, the US government decided to rescue SVB and told investors they would get all of their money back. The Federal Reserve set up a 25 billion euro credit line, a decision that stopped the panic from spreading and ended the crisis. Just north of Silicon Valley is San Francisco. The city alone is home to 9,000 startups. That is a magnet for events like TechCrunch Disrupt, a major annual summit for tech entrepreneurs. And with 10,000 people attending, it's also the perfect place for networking.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Chris.
Chris Howard is a VC, a venture capitalist. His $40 million investor fund has already financed 64 startups. He's come to the summit to look for the next potential big innovation.
So it's like using visual recognition to do AI.
Yeah, real image analysis.
And then it's displaying it up on the screen or something like that.
On the live.
And do you have investors? Or
but startups are having to fight harder than ever. Investments in new products and technology have dropped by a record 50% in just 1 year.
It's definitely the worst time in 10 years to raise an emerging fund. But just like Warren Buffett said, right? Be fearful when people are greedy, be greedy when people are fearful. Right now, people are afraid of where they're putting their money, but now is actually the time to get in because people are losing their jobs. Well, so when there's a pullback on those companies, there's more opportunity and more engineering talent that you can pull into a startup. So I think this is just a natural ebb and flow.
There's a very obvious reason for this optimism, two letters that have sent Silicon Valley into a frenzy: AI, artificial intelligence.
AI is definitely hot. There's a lot of money behind AI. There's going to be a lot of money spent and probably also lost, but I mean, there's going to be some great AI companies coming out of this.
At this summit, AI is everywhere, in each software and in each conversation. It's a sea change that Ashka is hoping to use to her advantage. She's at the summit to meet the people who plan to change the industry.
Hi, Ashka. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
She stops at this exhibit for a small robot that uses AI and decides to introduce herself.
I'm looking for a job, so if at all something comes up, we can stay connected and
great.
Yeah. AI is a disruptive technology, and people need to learn how to collaborate with, co-pilot with AI in order to increase their productivity and upskill themselves to keep themselves in the market.
In Silicon Valley, changing and adapting are the name of the game. That is how the industry has stayed afloat, navigating crisis after crisis. But this resilience hides another, deeper problem. In the Bay Area, the cost of housing has doubled in 10 years. A one-bedroom apartment runs for 3,500 euros a month, and it costs millions to buy a house. Living here has become a luxury that only tech workers are able to afford. Maximiliano is 70. He's lived in this trailer for 2 years, not far from Google headquarters.
My last place that I was living at, it was a junior studio, which is like 1/4 of my truck, $2,500 a month. That was the rent. And then she wanted $3,500, and I can't. Please, come in.
And yet he works as a chef at an Italian restaurant.
My working clothes, when I go walking, this is my shirt for work. Those pants gotta go to the cleaner tomorrow. And this is my little office.
Do you feel it's normal that you have to live like this here?
No,
How do you feel about that?
I don't have a choice.
His trailer has no running water or power. Maximiliano purchased a gym membership to use the showers there. And that is despite making 5,000 euros a month thanks to his salary as a chef and his pension.
I used to live in a nice little area, and Google bought it. It had like about 80 units. They kick us out. And then the new tenants came in paying $5,000, $6,000 because they make the money. I don't make the kind of money to be living in a place like that.
There are now dozens of these trailers in the streets of Mountain View. Some residents have complained, but authorities have simply moved them to quieter areas.
I work. I have a job. I pay taxes. So it's not like I'm a bum, you know what I mean? I don't look like a bum. But their misconception is that that's what we are. I might be too old, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going, you know.
He's far from the only one. The city created the Safe Parking Program. Parking lots where people can sleep in their trailer or car without worrying about safety. California needs more affordable housing for teachers, firefighters, and other middle-class workers, many of whom have to live far from where they work. Some have chosen to settle down in the Bay Area's numerous commuter towns. Princess Washington is a council member of Suisun City, some 60 kilometers northeast of San Francisco.
We're actually one of the last affordable counties in the Bay Area. There's a mass influx of people moving from the heartland of the Bay Area out to the outer counties. The prices are going up now because it's a free market, so we're still affordable, but rents are rising.
And the trend will likely only get worse. For the past 5 years, a group of Silicon Valley billionaires led by Jan Schramek, a former Goldman Sachs investor, has been buying plots of land. Their goal is to create a city of 50,000. an alternative to Silicon Valley.
This is all the open space here, so this is the land that was purchased. You see all this land here?
The company, called California Forever, has bought more than 20,000 hectares of land for 800 million euros. Some of it is farmland located between a military base and protected marshes.
It's all federally protected land. So these are all brackish waters. We have a lot of marine life that are unique to this area. It's a very delicate ecosystem. When they do build, what's going to happen environmentally?
California Forever did not respond to our requests for an interview. But so far, this rural community has not been convinced by the company's vision or its plans for the area.
It's giving a very colonial vibes to me. This will be the single largest land owner development in state history. It's kind of scary. And I think that they're in for a long fight.
Throughout the years, Silicon Valley has continued to impose its own rules and to maintain its image as a goldmine for innovation.
Valérie Defer, Pierrick Laurent and Wassim Cornet, revisiting Silicon Valley for France 24. Well, that's all from this week's edition. Of course, you can catch it and all the previous editions as well on our website at france24.com. More news coming up shortly. Thanks for watching.